Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. Adam is on tour and has some bad internet, so hi, I'm Nick Enbarian.
Hey, it's Mike Forrester. We are a duo pod tonight.
Yes.
And I missed you terribly when we were talking about Visions Season 3, the first couple episodes.
I know. Where were ya?
I know. It's been
Come
a lot.
on, man.
It's been a lot. If you have clicked on Roosevelt's Black Friday, anything, that is what I've been doing. If you've seen something that looks kind of Mosh Isley-ish, that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so
I've been getting those ads.
And that means it's working. That means it is working. We put together a lot of assets, and it's really cool. And we got a couple new pieces that we'll show off. How are things in your?
It's raining here.
Wow!
It cannot stop raining. I have like a little bin outside of my door behind a bush where I ask like all the delivery drivers to put packages, so they're like kind of not, So that I'm waiting for the rainy kind of week to be over to see how much rain is in there. And right now, I would say it's at least like conservatively 6 inches we've gotten in like the last. Yeah, it's a lot of rain. It has rained so much, but it's been a little on and off. So there has been breaks. Today it's raining right now. I think tomorrow it's going to rain, and then we're in the clear. And this is only scary for people in California. I know it rains everywhere else.
Right.
I get it, guys. I get it. Stop rolling. I could hear you guys rolling your eyes at me. Right. But I moved to California for a reason, and that was to escape all weather.
All weather.
So when there's weather, I freak out.
Right.
Consistent. And my dogs freak out.
Sure. Everyone's like, what is the precipitation? We don't do this. Yeah, I do get it. Very exciting times for everybody. I hope everyone is catching Story of the Year as they come through on this tour. I'm hearing rave reviews. Our buddy Ryloth is rolling with them on this trip. I'm very excited to hear
it's so cool.
He's doing. That's really cool. I mean, I think about it from this standpoint. I just had to do some work for them for their new album, Arson, that's coming out. And I was kind of like, wow, this is really funny. Like, our Star Wars people are now like, I think everyone kind of realized like, oh yeah, actually these people are all professionals. They're really good at this stuff. They just happen to also be in Star Wars. So it's actually making the galaxy a little bit smaller.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like wild to think because we wanted to forget it so bad, but the COVID years are like just such a part of our like everyday life, subconscious, whether we want to admit it or not.
Right.
And our whole community, if you're listening to this right now, has formed because of and in spite of and during COVID. So Absolutely. It's kind of like even our bands, have been parallel to Thank the Maker and Mosh Isley, which Chicago tickets are on sale right now.
Nice.
And we're busy again, like we normally would have been. Like the post-COVID music business, it's kind of moving along now in a different way than it used to, but it's moving along at the same pace, just in a different way. So you have people like Ryan Ryloth Photos, who we've met. He does great work. He's done work for Mosh Isley, yada yada. But now it's like, oh yeah, hey, our bands too. Like these are professional bands, and we're full-time bands again. Do you need work?
The answer is yes. Everybody needs it.
Great.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So make sure you're grabbing either Yellow Card and A Day to Remember is on. They're probably halfway through their leg right now, and then go see Adam and the Census Fail guys coming to a town near you. I think they're in New York this Saturday, so please go. We have our buddy Jake Pizza Beard was able to make it to the Atlanta show. That looked like a good time. And so, here it is. We're rounding up. Do you have any plans for next week? Are you giving thanks for anything?
Desi and I might be going to Universal. Yeah, because we don't have plans.
Got it.
So we're like trying to gauge or find information on whether Universal is busy or not. And shocker, some people are like, oh, it's never busy. And then other people are like, oh, it's so busy. I'm like, thanks for nothing.
Sure. Right. Someone's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of cool. That's fun. Yeah. My parents are coming up. It'll be nice. I hope everyone is enjoying. I have a feeling we're going to get some Mando Grogu
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
because I know that it was the, let's see, Disney Consumer Products Expo was this week. And I heard from a couple people that it's going to be crazy. Next year
Good.
is going to be wild in terms of
Please.
things that we are distracted by and encouraged by, and that is going to be a lot of different properties that are very excited. Did you happen to see Predator Badlands yet?
No, I haven't really stayed up on the Predator franchise, and not for nothing. I know it's all kind of becoming, or always has been, the same universe, but I didn't even finish Alien Earth. I got distracted by Tor on that one because we were watching, Desi and I were watching it. I left for Tor. I watched 1 or 2 episodes on Tor, and then I did not finish it. So
sure. If it makes you feel any better, it's awesome, and it also requires absolutely no knowledge of the Predator universe.
Okay,
which is great.
Yeah,
So
I've heard good things.
Yep. So maybe if you guys go check it out, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because someone described it as if Disney got a hold of Predator. And I'm watching it and I'm like, I can't necessarily say I disagree, but it's awesome.
That's cool.
It's great. Yeah. So let's get into this project.
Yes.
Star Wars Visions. Let's do this thing. So overall, your thoughts on the second half, because I know that you guys covered it.
Yeah.
Pretty extensively.
This one, so we're covering the second 5 episodes here. There were a couple less good ones for me here, especially I think starting with this first one here. Sure. There was an absolute batshit crazy one to end it.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, we'll get to that, but I think one of my actual favorite one, like, these all kind of come out of nowhere when you're watching them, because they're not stories that are attached to anything, and you never know where the story's going to go. A lot of them, and I don't mean this in a bad way, are derivative of other Star Wars ideas. You know, like, there just somehow always happens to be the same kind of adventure. They mirror a lot of things that we've seen already.
Familiar beats.
But my favorite one was, I believe it was 8, Bird of Paradise, when we get to that. That one, I was not expecting the story to be what it was. And about halfway through, I understood what it was, and I was like, are they really doing this? So I can't wait to talk about that one. Nice. Bird of Paradise wound up being my favorite for sure.
Yeah, I wonder, like, there's always of course, like, a centrist mindset that I think that we have, because as Americans, everything that's come out from an American company, I know that people in England are like, Star Wars is actually, it's an English production too. But a lot of times, like, if Star Wars isn't a part of Japanese culture in the same way that it's like, you know, I don't think Americans understand how much pop culture they assume or consume so often. And so you have all these differences of, like, where some of the people in these studios were definitely Star Wars was just another set of stories, the same way that you could say there's people, I mean, working with my students, tons of them are into One Piece and a lot of new anime. And when I say new anime, it means new to them. But it blows their mind when they find out that One Piece is actually decades old. Watching Akira, and they're like,
I had no clue it was.
Right. They're like, dude, wait, dude, Akira came out in 1986. This thing's 39 years, almost 40 years old, you know, and you're like, yeah, it's insane. It's awesome. But when you talk about it from that standpoint of how huge it is, and how almost like for us, it's like, it's underground. It's like cool for people who are either super cool or super nerdy. And that makes me kind of look at it from the opposite side of Star Wars is huge in Japan, but the intricacies of what people, how they consumed it, might have meant that once they start exploring themes, they're not thinking about it as often as, say, we are, where it's like, oh, that feels like a familiar beat, because I think the idea of the Force and all of these things are very interesting for people. And a lot of times they're looking at classic storytelling in different ways, but that's why it feels familiar to us, because we've also had and consumed 50 years of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, so I felt that way too. I definitely felt like there's a couple of, you know, a hidden child with abilities. This, I definitely got that too. And we've seen that throughout Visions. There's always been kind of like a sleeper person or a mysterious, a stranger shows up and there's something about them. You're like, they might be force sensitive. They might be evil. We don't know what these things are. So
well, it's interesting, like to me too, and we'll get into it after this. But I guess the interesting thing when it comes to this particular conversation is that some of them are like, let's just have fun, and then some of them are like almost like backdoor pitching a series. Like some are just they're like, we got to make this crazy and like have an open ending, and some of them are just like, here's a story you've seen before. There's just some anime characters instead. So it's funny that all the creators go in two different directions.
Yeah, 100%. And I can certainly say that Black had no intention of doing anything, which
their
I think
intention
is amazing.
was violence on the viewer.
100%. Like you're watching that and you're just like, if you're not used, like I think for a lot of people we'll get into it, but like when you know the director, it's very on point. And I think for people who are like, oh, that makes sense, Black makes a lot more sense. But I think for people who are like cold off the street watching it, like what is like watching it, like what is going on here?
Yeah.
So let's I get to hit the stolen planes button.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, Jason's like, dude, you don't have to say you're gonna hit the button, but I'm hitting the button.
Yeah.
Here we go.
What have you done with those plans?
Alrighty. Here we go.
I did. Okay, so what do we got here?
Yeah, released on October 29th on Disney Plus. We have the award-winning anthology of animated short films celebrating the mythology of Star Wars through unique cultural lenses. Star Wars Visions Volume 3, again, features 9 shorts from 9 different animation studios, this time focusing solely on Japanese anime studios. So, like we mentioned at the top of the show, we're already covered episodes 1 through 4, so we're going to start with episode 5, Yuko's Treasure.
Yes.
The Disney Plus description is a sheltered orphan teams up with a streetwise kid to rescue his old droid, his droid, and find a lost treasure. Runtime 24 minutes, and the anime studio is Kinema Citrus, directed by Masaki Takibana, who has also done Evangelion 2.0. Evangelion 2.0, Princess Principal, Ghost in the Shell, Arise.
Have you ever seen Evangelion?
I have not. I didn't even know how to pronounce it, let alone see it.
You know what I mean? I'm just asking, but it is very anime, big mechs, big teenagers with a lot of emotions in these giant robots. It's pretty amazing. What's interesting is like, because your girlfriend is into models and making models and all of that, I absolutely know that you have passed Evangelion models.
Nice.
For 100%. Like, the Gundam section and Evangelion, they're absolutely in the same section. So I know that you've seen it, and once you Google it, you'll be like, oh, I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So this was a pretty awesome one. I like this. It's written by Natsuko Takahashi and Mika Tanaka. And I think I don't want to do a full recap, but essentially this one is Yuko is this orphan. He's raised. He's got this is Billy? How would they say it?
Yeah, Billy.
Billy. I mean, is this the best droid in all of season 3?
I mean, I watched these things not totally analyzing right away, and I don't even think I picked up that it was a droid for a while. I thought it was just like an anime species of something
Bear.
On Star Wars. Yeah, and then I realized it was a droid.
Yeah, it's amazing. And obviously homesteading on Tatooine, they're visiting Mos Eisley to sell water to the Jawas, and he draws attention to a boy named Sola, who it runs into this gang of the terrifying and menacing Foxier, which is this is classic. But I think this is one of those stories that already kind of hits on familiar beats. It's interesting that some planets, they decided to go completely different, like to your point of saying, we're going to explore something different, and then some are just straight up like, you've seen this before.
Literally, I wrote in my notes, somehow Tatooine returns.
A classic motif.
Yeah.
So holding the key to the treasure, Yuko, his parents, Foxier, and the gang raid the homestead and kidnap his droid. Sola joins forces with Yuko and his triangle droid to rescue Billy, who has been taken.
Look like a little piece of candy corn.
Yep, 100%. So from your standpoint, looking at this one,
Mhm.
you know, 'cause we had tried to break this down. This was one that Adam was going to take, but Adam's internet dropped out.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
It's funny because my thoughts on it are directly reflected on the fact that I watched episodes 1 through 4, loved them. We talked about them, and then when I was like, okay, time to get ready for the next block of them, started with this one. I was like, oh, this one wasn't that strong because the first 4 were so strong. So I enjoyed this one. I think it's one of those ones that just like puts a bow on the story and it's done. So you don't have to like, there's nothing to read into. There was nothing too heavy. It was just kind of an adventure. And it's kind of, you know, it ends nice where the, you know, you kind of have the little fake out at the end where they're in like this empty vault.
Yeah.
And it winds up being that like it's where Yuko and his family lived, and and they left him a starship, you know. It's like, okay, that's nice. Wrap it in a bow. Episode ends.
Yeah. Does this one feel more? Do you think this one feels more like a young Jedi adventure story compared to the heaviness of like a season 7 Clone Wars episode? Like
definitely, because the two like kids seemed like kids. You know, they weren't like young adults or teenagers even. They seemed like legit kids. So not my favorite one, but it was good. Tons of A New Hope imagery and Mos Eisley, and it was a little shocking when I guess I realized Billy was a droid when he got shot, and I was like, wait a minute, kind of strange. And then he just got up and he was a droid. And,
Is there a part of you that goes, you know, because it's interesting. I listened to the Dad Batch cover these last night, and they also kind of said the same thing. They were like, we didn't love this one. And, you know, I think in some ways, like the intentionality of like, when you look at, you know, Studio Ghibli or any of the Ghibli, if you look at some of the approach that they have to these things, it's like they're trying to also, you know, the kind of amazing thing about Japanese animation is they don't have the same I don't want to say like targeted audience, but like certainly in America, we have a cartoons are for kids mentality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
we have like a section on our streamers that just says adult animation, you know, and it's like
right. And
you have to rename it, you know. It couldn't just say cartoons. It has to be like having a more mature name description. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I think in some ways, like, you know, this one was definitely this is one that I show my kid. You know what I mean? Versus like showing my daughter Black and having her being like, please never recommend anything for me again. Because the content is so much different. So I think this really highlights in this last block here, starting with Yuko's Treasure. I think this really like highlights the difference among the studios.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool in terms of range. So Yuko's Treasure. I'd be interested in between the patrons and our YouTubers. I'd love to hear people's thoughts on these, because I know that this one was just kind of maybe to your point of going, the first couple were so strong, and there's some really great moments in the last one, but this one just kind of felt like it was like just maybe even in the position of where it was, which anything is hard to follow the Ronin story.
Yeah.
But like, would this have been better as like episode 3?
Yeah.
Versus like almost an immediate tipping point at number 5, you know?
Yeah. I wonder what it's like sequencing a record, you know, like I wonder if they thought of that because people binge them or what, you know, like it's definitely interesting, because why is Black last, you know,
the science of placement, right? Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's see, we've got episode 6, The Lost Ones.
Yes, so
this one's cool.
Episode 6, dig this one. Let me see here. These notes got a little moved around. So The Lost Ones, Disney Plus description: while helping refugees escape disaster, an incognito character named F is forced to confront the ghosts of her past. Runtime 23 minutes. Once again, studio Kinema Citrus. Directed by Hitoshi Haga, who did The Village Bride. This is a sequel to Village Bride from season 1 Visions. Also directed Perfect Blue and Millennium Actress.
So
Written by Takahito Unushi and Hitoshi Haga.
So this one felt because it's a sequel, and this one felt very like what I expect from Star Wars Visions, both in terms of animation and like simplicity of some of the dialogue's a little corny. It does always crack me up when we have a very English basic name as in the story, right? And so for people who need a little refresher, the former Jedi Padawan F shows up to rescue these two refugees named Ron and Theo, which again, when I think of Star Wars names, Ron and Theo, there's a quake on the planet Ainoli, which is a former mining world ravaged by carbonite gas from I guess they describe it an empirical ravage. Basically, they're taking all the carbonite and it's making the planet's core unstable. Ron is a leader of the group of Ainoli refugees who have been experimenting with carbonite gas. Very dark.
Killer idea. Like that was when you first see that character's like family just like kind
frozen
of I was just like, oh, stone, I don't know what happened here.
Right.
But then when it's explained that it's carbonite gas that comes and that's the storm they're talking about,
right,
I like leaned in. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was and
a good idea.
When they showed the first flower on the ground that like turned gray, I was like, oh, is this kind of like some like soot that happens or something? And then when I realized what it was, I was like, yo, that's dark. That's very dark.
Very.
So as the planet kind of gets unstable and they're warning about the storm coming, they bring F aboard the ship. She befriends the local children. It's very wholesome in the sense of like she shows up and all the kids are like, "You're new here."
Yeah.
You kind of get that like hero presence.
Yeah. She also dropped. I don't think we have the audio here. She dropped some like whoever wrote this had to get something off their chest. I have it here. I'll just say it really quick. It's a little. I'll read it real quick. It's a little lengthy. I wish we had the audio, but again, I was leaning in. It's a good thing I started to pay attention when they talked about carbonite mining, because then she hit us with these lines, and I was just like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
She says, "Getting older isn't the same as growing up. Yeah, there are lots of experiences. Then you will truly grow up. You'll have to figure that out by studying and observing things yourself so you can make your own decisions. Knowledge and experience complement imagination. That helps you notice things you wouldn't have seen before. For example, someone else's feelings. There's more to reality than what we see, and not everything seen is true. On the other hand, there are some things you can believe in even if you can't see them. Evil takes advantage of people's ignorance and conflict and fosters ignorance. Suspicion eats away at people and eventually leaves wounds on one's heart." She's saying this to like kids.
I know, right? This is like Dave Filoni versus Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
Like it cracked me up. Like because I said the same thing. I was like, dang. I was like, what a monologue. I'm like, the kid's like, that's just my stuffed animal. It was very heavy, and obviously this character, with the village bride from the story previously, has a lot of weight to her, and obviously has the not just the scar, but obviously like the presence of someone who, like, to her point of saying like growing up is not or getting old is not the same as growing up, which is so simply profound in its own way. That it was, for those kids to realize that like they might not actually have a childhood because they're refugees is a very like real life statement that I think a lot of people are experiencing, especially as someone who's raising a kid. Me and her mom do everything we can to try to keep her as a kid. You know what I mean? And like, there's times where like you think like we got to teach them responsibilities and all those things. Yes, absolutely. But when you think of the tragedy of Order 66, it is literally like, as soon, they're taught, and then all of a sudden Order 66 happens, and these kids have this immense pressure of being trained enough in this ancient art, and then suddenly everyone's gone. And so like to know how all of their masters were killed or went down fighting or whatever those things are, like that they don't get to grow up. From that point on, they are just living with the weight of that, which is, I feel like it was shown very well here.
Yeah, definitely. So then, you have that heaviness again. You put it correct, like Filoni versus Gilroy. Like this is totally like a loose and rail level. Like,
yeah, sure.
Unreal. But another thing I like visually, like the holodeck kind of thing.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit into some familiar territory with like F's former master was killed. She saw them die. No, he's alive. He goes by Zero now,
Right.
and like he's on the dark side. So you get into little familiar parallels there, especially when they start to battle and the droid Lulu and Ron were like running around the Star Destroyer base.
It looks
while F and Zero had a lightsaber battle. Like all of that is just like, okay, familiar territory.
Yeah.
But the kill there, if you want to call it the kill, was very sick. Like she F kind of flipped over Zero like Anakin. Also got both of her legs and her arm cut off, but she like stuck him with like a vial of carbonite, and I was like, that's great. There's some really good ideas in this episode, and that's one of them.
I felt like this one specifically was like the writer was a big Star Wars fan. Because like even the kids go up and they're like, is Coruscant actually completely covered in a city? And like, what's this like? Like all of these little details I thought were really good, and it felt very Star Warsy. I mean, even the Star Destroyer, like we have seen some wild interpretations of Star Wars ships in this series, and I felt like that Star Destroyer showed up, and I was like, that's just a Star Destroyer. Like they didn't take any liberties with that. That's just straight up, Venator class or what. I can't remember that. But I thought that was awesome, and I like those themes. I like the idea of I think some of the you're kind of rushing. It's like this guy was like, oh, this person's a stranger, and all the Jedi are gone, or are they? Are they not? And all of a sudden it's like, I'm coming to help you. I'm risking everything. You can't go out there. I'm coming with you. Was very like it when we've joked about it. The memes are great, but like from Luke Skywalker to go from suddenly I'm the leader of the free people within losing Obi-Wan within like an hour, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is like, it's very funny in how fast all of the stakes get raised from I'm just going with this old guy to the bar, and then suddenly I'm in charge of an intergalactic war. So I you're gonna have those moments, but I thought all in all, like the lightsabers were awesome. They're more of that kind of stylized, katana style blade. I like that the colors were both. She was, she had a yellow saber, very cool. I thought the whole, and I loved, that it's just like his zone, his dojo, whatever you would call it.
That holodeck looking thing.
It was so sick, with like vegetation on the floor, and be able to look out through it. You know what I mean? Like it was very poetic and very Star Wars in terms of the throne room from the second Death Star, or even the deck of like in The Last Jedi, right? Snoke on the Supremacy. Felt very in line with that. So I felt like this one as a whole was very
There was that scene, I guess, where F was lying there in that like greenery there. And the holodeck had either stopped working or whatever, and she saw space, and I was like, that would look very good in live action. Like that's a very good idea. So this one was just full of really cool Star Wars ideas that I was like, these are exciting ideas that, like, I guess I always put things like visions into the like column of like, I I want to see that, and like
Yeah.
I like it if I want to see that in live action, you know. And there's this episode in particular had like 3 or 4 really good ideas that would be sick if they were in you know, some feature films.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's cool about that when he goes on the holodeck, the kind of like, whoa, that's cool, reminded me of walking into Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
When you see all the stormtroopers on the, you know, like, because you just see space and it's huge. It's this big wall of space, right? And I was like, dang, that's sick. Again, getting back to the idea that like this one felt very particular about honoring what's already in Star Wars. I mean, even F's ship is like a single engine X-wing, you know what I mean? It feels familiar. They weren't trying to do too many different things, but there's a couple cool little details that we'll get into. So let's get on to the next episode here.
Yeah.
Let's see, episode 7, The Smuggler.
Yes. We have the Disney Plus description. Desperate for a quick payday, a smuggler takes a job to rescue a fugitive from the Empire. A little bit shorter runtime, 19 minutes. Studio Trigger did this one, directed by Masahiko Atsuka, who did Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Neon Genesis. How do you say this again? Evangelion?
Evangelion.
Yes.
I'm going to make you say it every time. It's actually great.
I'm going to forget it every time.
Sure.
Written by the person who directed it, Matsuhiko Atsuka. And a little synopsis here. A desperate smuggler named Cheetah is hired for what she thinks is a simple transport job to rescue a young prince named Arlu and his guardian Glinu. Their escape complicated by the Empire and a crafty bounty hunter. Cool look for that bounty hunter.
100%.
I like it. And Cheetah's mission becomes a journey to help Arlu. Glinu is eventually revealed to be a former Jedi Knight protecting the prince. So, you know, this one seemed Clone Wars adjacent to me, story-wise, you know?
Yes, I completely agree. What was your, like, all in all, where are you putting this one? Like, were you like, this one's memorable? I mean, the coolest thing might have been the bounty hunter.
Yeah, bounty hunter. This one I had the least amount of notes for. I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was another one that was just kind of down the middle. Here's like a familiar kind of story for you. You know, you had stormtroopers, you had the bounty hunter. I did appreciate like the voiceover crawl at the beginning to kind of like give you some just an explanation of like where you're at. I felt like that was very Star Warsy. And then it kind of had an open ending, which again, it is interesting that some of these studios kind of have the gall to do that, to be like, I don't know if anyone's going to like it, but we like it, and there's more story to tell. So, you know, they wind up on what I presume is Yavin, right?
It felt very similar.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking for the X-wings in the back, but I didn't see it. But
looked pretty damn similar, and like I said, it had an open ending to kind of just keep the adventure going, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think this one for me, you know, I love anytime I see an AT-AT in the streets, or an AT-ST, I'm sorry, in the streets. And I thought that was really cool how they did that. It felt very, you know, the land speeder felt similar. You know what I mean? Like, this is another one where they were kind of like, there's tons of great Star Wars iconography already. We don't have to make a new walker. Like, we just the traditional one. And it felt very like Empire Day, almost like, you know, the stormtroopers are out in the streets and like they're roughing people up, and then, you know, the stormtroopers just get absolutely annihilated and everybody cheers, you know. So I think for a lot of people, this is, you know, these are familiar tropes, and I don't even want to call them tropes because I think they're familiar story beats that we've seen time and time again, that I think everyone likes. Like, I think
that's sort of the point of Visions a little bit, you know, like some studios are going a little bit more, taking it, I don't want to say serious, but they're putting more into it. And then some are just like, what's the assignment? Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think in this one particularly, I think the idea, of course, is you've got the bounty hunter, which works adjacent to, you know, you have that idea of the Empire can't catch the prince, but they're calling bounty hunters in. Feels very Empire Strikes Back. You know, the idea of like, we have the strongest military, but we still need the bounty hunters to line up on the deck of
Yeah.
Vader's ship and then say, like, you know, go find him, go find the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
So this one is cool. I like the, you know, the Clint Eastwood poncho. I liked his helmet. I liked his speeder. Everything about it was really cool. And then of course
Gleena having her lightsaber in her arm
was sick.
Very sick. Another, put that in the column of put that in live action eventually. That's a very good idea.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I think the familiarity of it's late where I am. It's not raining here. It's cold. It doesn't rain anymore, but it's 10:30. I think having that you know, the for us, because we've seen this so often, the hidden Jedi kind of a thing it's familiar enough, and I don't think anybody is overly frustrated about it, but it just, like, every time there's another Jedi, you're like, oh yeah, Order 66 was definitely not as efficient at one point as we agreed. But you know, there's times of where, like, people would reference, oh, I heard the Jedi started the war, and not everything you believe, right?
Yeah.
So, you know,
between the last episode and this one, it's funny they both made the choice to reflect the Empire's, like, propaganda on normal everyday people. It's pretty funny that, and it was 2 back-to-back episodes also.
Yeah.
Two different studios, obviously.
Right. Well, and I think for a lot of people too, it's Japan is not they're not shy about their past either, and understanding, you know, what it takes to mobilize people to get that. I know that for some people, there's political movements that people are like, I don't know if this is true, blah, blah, blah. So I think, again, we say they're familiar themes, but unfortunately, we are still living with familiar themes. So I thought this was a cool episode. I liked this one. I wouldn't say it was like it blew me away, but I was like, I like it. I thought it was cool. Definitely had great moments. So the smuggler was a good one. Okay. Episode 8, Bird of Paradise. We really liked this one.
This was the one.
Anytime we get cosmic and Star Wars, we're all in.
Yeah. This one, because I think I've had, like, I haven't seen enough takes in my life about, like, dealing with the fear of death.
Yeah.
And this one, about halfway through the episode, one of my notes was, is she dying?
Sure.
And, well, let's get into it, but I'm glad, again, my interpretation of it halfway through was what I, in my opinion, think was happening. So episode 8, The Bird of Paradise, Disney Plus description: blinded in battle, a Jedi Padawan must undergo a series of spiritual trials to resist the dark side. Runtime 21 minutes. Studio is Polygon Pictures, directed by Tadahiro Yoshihira, who did The Knights of Sidonia and Dead or Alive 4. Written by the same person and Makoto Uzu. And here's a short synopsis, and I think there's a lot more to it than this, though. But so the story follows Padawan learner Nakime, a hot-headed Jedi Padawan who's blinded in battle with a Sith named Iman. And after falling down a mountain, she must go on a spiritual journey, guided by the Force, it seems like, through a series of trials to overcome a temptation of the dark side and confront her own weaknesses. So I think that's only, like, half true of what was going on here, and why I like this episode, I think, the most out of any of the 9. Like I said, halfway through this episode, I said, is she dying? Is this the process of dying? Is her spirit dying? Is her whatever it is? Like, she is, like, no one knows what happens after you die, whether it's in Star Wars or here. And the way this story was laid out into, like, 5 different chapters, and each chapter, if you look at them, had some sort of lesson. And the first one was kind of denial. The second one was kind of exploring and acceptance. The third one was perseverance. Then you have, like, this, like, dark side cave of, like, you know, meeting some fears, which could be parallel to, like, am I going to hell? Am I going to hell? Like, whatever, you know? Then the 4th day was, like, a kind of a reflection of choices, like seeing your life flash before your eyes. And then day 5 was kind of she meets this trippy frog.
That was Jacob
battles.
Marley for sure.
Yeah. She then, like, it kind of ends with her coming to terms with, like, this is where it gets a little bit more Star Warsy, and it's, you know, light versus dark. You know, it's her Jedi self versus her Sith self. But she said in every chapter pretty much something about dying. Like, this is how I don't want to die like this. Don't let me die like this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And that really tipped me off to being like, is she going through the process of dying right now? And I think that that's what this is. I think she's dead at the end of this. Because also, I think one of the last things she says is she wakes up and she says, I'm alive, I think. And she just looks out at this most beautiful, like, picturesque sun in the sky. So I think...
And she can see it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think in this one, we have this super deep thing going on where she died during that battle, and what we're watching from chapter 1 on basically is the, like, spiritual death of her.
Her finding becoming one with the Force.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. If you watch it again, and you could probably mark down like 4 or 5 times where she talks about dying, and I don't want to die like this, and blah, blah, blah. So there's this, she doesn't outrightly say it. She says it as if she's reacting to what's happening. Like, she knows what's happening. And, like, I've had, like, I guess why I like this one so much too is because, like, you know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago at this point, I definitely had, like, a mushroom trip that unlocked some crazy fear of death, that a lot of things kind of resonated with me during that. It was a beautiful thing after it happened.
Sure.
But during it was, like, so insane to think, like, oh wow, I think I'm dead, you know. Like, that's how crazy the mushroom trip was.
Yeah, but I think as someone who's, like, you know, with what happened to you in your past, and, you know, like, I think all of that, I think for people who have resonated with this, or have seen it, or have experienced something traumatic like that, there is always a level of acceptance of more like the loss of control for people who either were close to someone who was dying and felt like they wanted to have control over the situation, and, like, giving yourself up to being like, whatever you believe, or if you don't believe anything, the process of letting go is such a very spiritual way of truly accepting that there might not be anything that you can do. And I liked this episode because I think Bird of Paradise, the thing that kept happening for her was, like, she was growing like, a bird of paradise is actually it's a plant, for people who are like, it's not actually a bird, but the plant itself looks like a bird that's flying. It's a beautiful plant, relatively low maintenance. It's a very cool looking plant. And it, you know, fauna and flora and all of these things have been used in Star Wars all the time to talk about, like, what these things mean, you know. And I think for a lot of people to go with, you know, a plant is kind of a beautiful thing because some go dormant or some have a long, healthy life, but they still need those basic things. And so I think from the acceptance of her, the part that I'm curious of, and I know we're fixating on it a little bit, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, is that, like, we know that process, that trial for becoming one with the Force can take some time. There's a reason either Obi-Wan wasn't able to connect with it, but Qui-Gon was ready to go when he was killed by Darth Maul. So much that he was like, I've been waiting for you. Like, why, where were you? You know what I mean? And so I think that's a cool thing, but I would have thought maybe if she would have joined the Force, she may have seen her master. That was the only reason that I thought maybe this was like a Kanan moment where she was finally seeing what the Force wanted her to see. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's her vision, but, like, it was almost like, was that her like world between worlds moment without getting into that specifically?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was some version of that, and bringing up like plants and fauna again. There was, I think, in day 3, because I wrote down in day 3, the perseverance was like one of the things there. She like leaned on a tree and wound up talking to the tree, kind of, or the tree was like,
lighting
of course
her
you
way.
could go on. Yeah, it's like, of course you could go on. Like you're insane. Like just keep going forward. So yeah, this one to me, I love that idea because it's also not. I guess you could interpret it a different way if you want. I think the purpose of this story was taking her through her spiritual death, and I think that's a really crazy concept.
I love that. That's heavy. I liked to, as a little note on that, how hard it was for her to connect with the what I would say, like, she leans on the trees and almost has to like recognize that it's a living being. And then slowly it kind of like guides her through by lighting up the other trees. But how easy the Sith cave was, like, right this way, come on down. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was a really beautiful way of showing how easy it is to fall to anger, to rage, to frustration, to fear. It's like those are so much easier to believe in sometimes than like patience, perseverance.
Definitely.
So I thought that was a really awesome visual analogy of how they did that. So let's get into this last one here.
Episode 9.
This one is insane.
Truly. Do you ever watch a show in the 90s on MTV called Liquid Television?
Yes.
Okay. This is like, reminds me of something I would watch as like a 12 or 13-year-old and be like, what is this? Like, what am I watching?
Or it's one of those things that I was like, I might be up too late for whatever is happening.
Definitely.
Here.
I'm like, is this what adults like? Because I don't get it.
100%. I would rather see music videos than this. No, but 100%. I think this was a very well, let's read the description. Let's get into it.
So episode 9, entitled Black, Disney Plus description: on the cusp of defeat, a psychedelic battle plays out in the haunted psyche of an Imperial trooper. So I guess that's what it's about. I don't really know. You have, I guess this tells you a little bit because it says it plays out in the haunted psyche of an Imperial trooper, because there's 2 troopers.
There's 2, yeah.
There's a red and a green sometimes. But sometimes they're 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it actually 2 or is it?
I could not follow the story it was trying to tell because it's also so distracting just visually, and then the audio is insane because it's just like intermittent acid jazz. So that's distracting in its sense. It's beautiful. It's demented. It's surreal. I suppose I want to find more things that so the studio is called David Production, directed by Shinya Ohira. I think I want to find more stuff that he did. And
you've definitely seen it.
Yeah. So for some of the stuff he's done, he was in the animation department for Akira, One Piece, and Kill Bill Volume 1. So he's got some pretty great credits there. He also wrote it. And I mean, it's just a little description. Well, our own little description. It's an abstract psychedelic exploration of a dying Imperial trooper psyche. So, I mean, it's a little bit not similar. It's a different take on death, right? It's like kind of almost, you could say that the last episode 8 and 9 are about somebody's, like, what goes on in your brain while you're dying. Because this one is a little bit of it's a little all over the place. It's not as linear, but it's like your life flashing before your eyes as you're dying.
The description, because Sheena is such a known animator in Japanese animation, so this was a big deal for Star Wars to get him to do something like that. And I know that there were a lot of people that he has a fan base of people who support his work. And I think for people who are like, why don't I know his stuff? If you have seen Akira, or if you've seen, he's done episodes of One Piece, but probably for most people who have seen Kill Bill Volume 1, the Oren Ishii anime that happens in the middle of it when it's explaining who Oren is was done by Shinya Ohira. And it's beautiful because it's like, it's so violent, and the way that it was done was so sick. Quentin Tarantino obviously recognizes important people within these specific movements, but he was like, the reason for doing the jazz, and we've certainly seen this before, this is almost like what I would say, like the person who's most leaning into this at this point is probably James Gunn, because there's always some big battle with like a really pleasant sound or a song in the background, you know what I mean? This is the Red Bone, come and get your love, as he's
Love
like,
that song.
as he's as Star-Lord is like blasting people, so I think like that's kind of a modern interpretation of how often we've seen, same thing with the Lou Reed song in Trainspotting. You have these really gnarly visuals with this almost intentionally disturbingly opposite reflected music that kind of is, your brain doesn't know what to feel because it's intentionally supposed to be disorienting.
Yeah. And boy, is it.
And it is. But I think like, you're kind of looking also from this, he's trying to explore the psyche of going like, we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, of like, where if you're a stormtrooper, you already know that this is the second impenetrable fortress that's being built. So like, you already know that the first one that was supposed to be an unbeatable battle station already got blown up and everyone died on it. So you have obviously done enough in the Empire. You've already been a part of this brutal war, and they put you on the second one that now you're like, I cannot believe it. The rebels are here to destroy this one too. And the process of it being so open and exposed, almost like it would feel worse because you could see it coming. Like, you're looking out the unbuilt Death Star, seeing all of these X-Wings flying around you. You're like, we're screwed and we can't get off, And so I don't know if he necessarily went into the lore or any of it that deep, but I think the idea of a soldier's psyche, of knowing that like you can live and die multiple days on the battlefield, because just because you survived the battle doesn't mean that you're living better. After, you know what I mean?
You're like putting it off, basically.
Yes, 100%. So I think the brutalness of this one was really illustrated well, and it is unnerving because, like, you saw the flashbacks of him with his family, you saw the flashbacks of him sitting among the grave sites of all the other people who have died before him, and kind of almost like a not today, but then also the inevitable destiny of going, all soldiers in some ways leave a part of them there. And like the fact that his helmet is like dangling in this like incredibly jarring way, because we've never seen. The only time we've seen this like broken stormtrooper helmet was from the Death Troopers in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I took very few notes. And while I was trying to actually take notes, I mean, we're talking about this here in the Discord. Was this Death Star 2? I feel like you saw it kind of like come into focus and go out the bottom left. It looked like Death Star 2 to me.
Yeah, but I could also see, because there's X-Wings flying through it, so that would make me feel like. But it was like the X-Wings were flying through like what I thought were beams and unexposed parts, which makes me think
and I could have swore I saw like the shield, whatever Lando blows up with I could have sworn I saw that
the
too.
reactor.
Yeah. So that was my first note, was Death Star 2 battle. My second note was zombie stormtroopers fighting. So I was like, went in that direction for a second, but literally my third note is, why am I taking notes? Yeah, that's literally what I wrote down. Why am I taking notes?
Right. I was just like watching this. Absolutely. That's an insane episode. So that was pretty cool. So let's we have a couple Den of Antiquities and Twiquities. We have a couple Den of Antiquities to talk about.
We sure do.
Would be great. So let's get into those because we are approaching an hour and we want to get these people out of here. They got to go to bed. Let me hit the button when I find it.
Hit the button.
1,000 generations.
It is the dark saber.
Run, Togosh.
It's a Kalikori.
A Sith wayfinder.
Dark science. Cloning. Secrets only the Sith knew.
All right. So in Yuko's treasure, we see a stall that sells toys, starships, including a Clone Wars era Y-Wing, a Naboo cruiser, a TIE fighter, and a T-16 Skyhopper model.
Hey, look at that. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. Also a Jawa riding a Ronto.
Sure.
And, just basically all of Mos Eisley. That is one giant
big
antiquity.
Yeah, that makes sense. In the Lost Ones, the character in the beginning of the episode dressed in a yellow hazmat suit and helmet holding a device similar to the device to the Walkman is a direct reference to the scene in Back to the Future where Marty is disguised in a yellow radiation suit and identifies himself as Darth Vader. We have a clip of it, but we decided not to show it in case we get busted from Universal. But I thought that was the whole thing. Again, is like, this is a fan. The studio that did this are definitely fans of Star Wars lore. So to throw this in there is really cool. But I like that F had an X-wing. What seemed like almost like that Clone Wars era, the Headhunter that had more of the single prop. It was pretty cool. I liked that, and I would say the ship that they used, their transport, they said was inspired by the Phantom 2 from Rebels, which I could absolutely see.
I see that
as a ship that looks like, I described it as like a sunfish, which have like this big tail fin that kind of sticks up out of the water, which I think is pretty cool. And then you also noticed.
Yeah, actually, let me go back to Yuko's treasure. I definitely saw a Spira from what we would know from Galaxy's Edge, from Batu.
Love that.
So speaking of that, I noticed a holocron that looked very familiar. Like, I know we've seen holocrons before, mostly in Rebels. Yeah. This one seemed like it was straight out of Galaxy's Edge, though, which I think is pretty rad.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And then for people who are like, why do I feel like I've seen Juna before? Juna is a Besselis, which is Dexter Jetster.
Yeah, baby. And
also Pong Krell, which what do all my homies say about Pong Krell? Fuck Pong Krell. Sorry, Jason, you're gonna have to cut that out. So let's get into the Smuggler, which I thought this one was cool. This one was a little bit lighter, in my opinion, of stuff that wasn't totally obvious. I thought originally that the prince had like Pantoran style face markings, but it turns out it was just kind of ceremonial garb. But then Cheetah arrives with the Jedi who is a Syrian. It's the same species as Ki-Adi-Mundi, the tall head.
Yep.
Which I thought was pretty cool. And then we have one little detail, which I think is great for Bird of Paradise, which I'll let you read because that seems like that was your episode, Nick.
Sorry, I had to sneeze.
Oh, yeah, sure.
For all our podcast listeners out there who can't see me. So in Bird of Paradise, we just spoke about this trippy frog before. So it features a talking toad mentor figure based on Japanese mythological yokai creatures, which somewhat resemble another iconic green-skinned Jedi mentor, Yoda.
Nice. I had to whisper that one.
Yeah.
People are listening.
I don't want to spoil anything, I don't want to spoil.
Right.
No spoilers.
Spoilers, you must. In Black, we just said we don't know what's going on. So let's just leave it at that. That's totally great. So all in all, I mean, season 3 of Visions, I know Adam's going to want to chime in. I'm sure Jason has thoughts. We've been talking about it. But give me a quick recap of what you think now that we've gotten 3 seasons of this. What are your thoughts, Nick? What do you think?
In general, keep it going.
Yeah.
It just seems like in a workflow sense, you have your budget and you have 8 or 9 different studios making things. So it's like, here's the assignment, here's when it's due, instead of being like, we have one crew of people making one thing. So I don't see why you couldn't just keep this going for I don't know, a while. The fact that there's 3 seasons of it that's got to be a plus, you know.
That's
like they're people must be watching it, and it's probably budget friendly because it's animation. So yeah, keep it coming. I mean, I felt like I've liked every season so far, and this one seems like the most inspiring to me. And we mentioned it on the first breakdown episode. I mean, we have a couple of episodes of was it the Ninth Jedi? Yeah, like there's one of them that's getting 4 more or 5 more episodes on its own, you know. So we have Ronan, who's entered like, you know, sort of the most Star Wars pop culture sense, where he has and comics and stuff and novels. So
and a toy.
Yeah. There's Black Series, there's Funko, like I what I would like to see is just, besides more seasons of this, I just wish there was a pipeline to get some of these ideas into production. Not even until like oh, this entire episode or this entire story needs to be a live action production, but it would be cool if films or shows took some of these fresh ideas. Carbonite Storm, you know, like
so cool,
lightsaber in your arm.
Yes.
Treat that, if this is not canon, treat this as a like thought farm for cool ideas. I think that would be pretty appreciated. Plus then it kind of pushes everyone to go watch Vision. The people who think that stuff is cool, us nerds will be like, well, you know, that's from Visions, right? And then someone will like, oh, okay, I'll go watch Visions, you know? So I like it.
Okay, I'm with you on that. We asked the patrons what they thought, and one of our patrons, Daniel, checked in, which I thought was a pretty good one. Physics buddy Joe chimed in too, but I realized we're going a little long, so we're going to hit Daniel for this week. Let's go ahead and hit it right here.
Greetings, Exalted Ones. This is Daniel, better known in the Discord as Catch22, and among the London and Tokyo celebration crews as Physics Buddy Joe's frequent panel queuing buddy. For me, far and away my favorite episode this season was The Lost Ones, which was not a huge surprise for me because The Village Bride, which started the story that this one continued, was my favorite in season 1. Getting the chance to see more of F's story, especially with her lost master being kind of someone who lurked in the background of the Village Bride story, but having her quite literally confront that loss in an interesting way this episode was really cool. And beyond that, I just continue to love the art style, and with how much music is a huge part of Star Wars, they did bring back Kevin Penkin, the composer from the season 1 episode, to do The Lost Ones again. And I will admit, when he brought out that kind of new version of the Force theme that he wrote for the quote-unquote Magina in season 1, I got emotional when I heard that starting to play when we first saw the main character of F on screen for this one. So just all of the above, top to bottom, had high expectations coming in, and it delivered. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think that, you know, we understated that a little bit, but you know, a new Force theme is pretty cool. It's simplified. I picked it up immediately, and I was like, dude, this is really cool. And to hear, like, you know, like Daniel just like have such excitement for a continuation of the series. I'm with you, Nick. It needs to continue to happen. And if this is more of a case for saying, do people want more Star Wars? The answer is always going to be, for my opinion, yes, they do.
Yeah, and like this lives in this like interstitial world of like not canon. So you just as a viewer and a lover of Star Wars can actually sit back and relax and enjoy it. Right. And like I said in that one episode with I keep going back to it, to Carbonite leaking, the Carbonite Storm. Yeah. I'm like, that made me pay more attention. You know, like I was sitting there casually watching this, and I was like, this is a good idea. I like this. And it wound up being a great episode. So
right. And in the third episode, we're going to find out if we can actually unfreeze them, thaw them the same way that Leia did for Han. So all in all, it's always a little bit of a bummer to not have Star Wars on the horizon, but I think we're getting closer and closer to Mando Grogu. I think we're going to get a full trailer pretty soon here. If it's not, they're not waiting for the Super Bowl, but I think the Super Bowl is going to be doomsday in my opinion. So I think we very well could see a Mando Grogu trailer hitting very quickly here. So
hope you're right.
I want to be right. I want to be right so bad. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Please do be kind to each other. Make sure you don't try to punch each other at the dinner table. Leave some certain opinions. Leave them out. Maybe not. Maybe actually, you know what? Yeah, just bring it forward. Get it over with. Tell those people you're not coming to Thanksgiving next year. That's also fine too, right?
Just say this. Is there anyone out there you still want to defend? Just wondering.
Right. Just kind of see it. Yeah, it's only kind of gotten worse. We're just trying to see at what point we can maybe break this this lever finally. So from everybody, please go see Story of the Year. And also, I feel like a little bit of an explanation. I know Mosh Isley has been a little confusing for people who are like, hey, cool, you announce the dates. For us to kind of explain a little bit, we know that Black Friday, Christmas is a very expensive time. And traditionally what we've seen for a lot of Mosh Isley tickets is that the closer they are to the event, the more that people are like, I'm confirming that I'm going to this convention. I'm confirming that I'm doing this. I'm getting this. And so we kind of said, tickets will go on sale. We'll definitely let you know about it. The bundles will be on sale, but we kind of figured let's cool it. Let's let people get the holidays out of the way. And then it is going to be 2026. It's going to be lots of moshing, which I'm excited.
So, but we are at March 21st, so it's Sun on the Beach in Orlando. March 28th, our very first Chicago Mosh Isley at Bottom Lounge. Only tickets for Chicago right now are on sale. So if you want to make plans for something that's 4 months away, we would love if you buy tickets. If not, wait after the holidays. It's fine.
Yeah, and we're gearing up for some really cool themes, some really cool interactions, and maybe possibly an opportunity to beat us at trivia. Let's see. Have a great night, everyone. May the force be with you. Nick, love you, buddy.
Love you, bud.
This is a lot more when I can actually do the outro. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. Love you guys. Bye. I did it again. Here we go.
Thank the Maker is produced by Adam Russell and Jason Chiodo and edited by Jason Chiodo. If you enjoy the podcast, you can support us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can support us directly at patreon.com/thankthemakerpod, where you can get access to our Discord server, exclusive content, exclusive merch, and more. Our patrons literally make Thank the Maker possible.